Hi peeps. Today is the end of the day on 416. Doing something new today. I have with me my very, very, very best friend in the world. I knew her originally as Lakia Davis. That's right, right?
Yep.
So now it's Lakia Cherry. And today, I consider this to be an essential life skill, especially for those of us who have been a part of the military lifestyle. Lakia and I, we had parents that served in what branch does your dad serve in?
Marine Corps.
So both of our dads served in the Marine. That's how we met. We met in the third grade at Stone Street Elementary School, and
Yep.
actually reconnected in high school because I moved back, and we've been tight ever since. And that's rare for military kids because we move around. Well, I will say some of us move around a lot, not all of us, but I would say the majority of us typically move around like every 3 years. That was me. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm thankful for the life that I had. So, but today, Lakia actually did the second part of it. So not only was she a child of a Marine, but then she decided to go join and be an Army person. And that's really bad for Marines. They don't like Army people. But you know, if we're serving, if you're in the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, or the Army, I still give huge kudos to you because you do such a great service to our country. So I don't discriminate. Well, I'm Marine because my dad was, but I try not to discriminate. So I just wanted to talk about um, today. We're just going to talk about service life. You know what happens when you go in, and then most importantly, what happens when you come out. Because there's a lot of do's and don'ts. If we can help you avoid those things or make that life easier, the transition easier for you, hopefully this video will help you with it. And I'm learning Zoom, so I'm going to attempt to do a share screen so I can just show a picture of Lakia when she was in the service. She looks like a baby. So I'm gonna share this screen real quick. Lakia, can you see that?
Yes, I can see it.
So what were you doing in this picture?
So in that picture, I just graduated boot camp, and my mom had came down after the graduation, and I think she was packing my stuff to put in the car because I had to get ready to go to AIT for training as well for school, because in the military, you know, you go to your boot camp, you do that, and I did that in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And then I went to Fort Lee, Virginia for my AIT training for 92 Alpha, which
Okay.
was automated logistics specialist in a fancy word.
So how old were you? Do you remember how old you were in this picture?
18.
18.
Just
Wow.
graduated high school in June and joined the military end of August into September.
Okay. So I'm gonna share this one for right now. But so let's start there. So you joined right after high school. So
Yes.
why did you decide to join the Army? What were your thoughts going in? What kind of knowledge did you have about the Army or service life?
Well, I never thought I would join the military. For one, I knew that with my stepdad being in the military, it wasn't something that, ooh, when I get older, I'm gonna join the military. But when my parents divorced, when they divorced, my mom being a single parent, raising my brothers and sisters, mom having 2 to 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, her number one thing, she wanted me to go to college, and I wanted to go to college myself. However, I knew that it would be a struggle financially for her to try to support me in going to school. And so instead of putting my family in that financial bind, this recruiter, he talked to me about joining the Army. And, you know, he listened to me, and it seems like everything seemed like it would be a perfect opportunity for me to be able to, of course, go to school, go to college, get my education, and of course, serve my country as well. So it's like a win-win for me. And then I knew that I would be taken care of, and that's something that my mom wouldn't have to worry about in the long run. And then also that I'd be able to help her as well while serving.
So why did you pick the Army? Why didn't you go into the Marine Corps? And I'll just be honest, because since my dad was in the service for 30 years, he retired as a Marine. He did like you. He joined. He was 17 and he went to Vietnam. He went straight over to Vietnam, and
Wow.
so thankful that he didn't really have any bad experiences or PSTD from that. But he asked me. I remember him asking me, "So, are you going to go into the service? What are you going to do?" And I remember, I think I told him, hell no, because I just saw how, and this is my perspective, but back then I saw how, I don't want to say bad, but I just thought the women who were in the Marines, that they just looked really jacked up.
Hardcore. They looked hardcore.
I want to be like that. I'm a girly girl. I'm not trying to give that up. So I was like, I got college handled. I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. That's what I told my dad. I wasn't trying to have any part of the Marine Corps service.
Yes.
So why did you choose the Army? And how was it being a woman in that branch?
Well, joining the Army, I thought about the other services just like with you with the Marine Corps when I
think you thought. I didn't think.
I know, right? When I found out the requirements to join the Marine Corps, like with the Army, they was like, oh, you just have to do like so many push-ups, sit-ups, run 2 miles. In the Marine Corps, it's like you got to run 3 miles, and and it was like more push-ups, sit-ups. I was like, man, physically, because I never ran, like I wasn't physically fit. I never ran a day of my life, so I was like, it seemed like to me the Army was the easy way, like I could do this, because like my recruiter, he made everything seem like with the Army was super easy. I was like, I don't want to have to do nothing where I have to be out in the sun or stuff. Like I used to see him walk with the rucksacks and stuff, and he was like, oh no, you be working in a computer with AC. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna be living a good life. So that was my main reason with the Army. I was like, I was gonna do the Army. I felt bad, to be honest with you, because we're going to school at Stone Street Elementary School. It's like the Marine Corps was embedded in us. Every morning we sung the Pledge of Allegiance, and every morning, we sung the Marine Corps anthem. So it's like I knew that my whole life. That's all I knew. So even when I was in the Army, it's like I could never learn the Army. I knew the Marine Corps song, but I could never.
That's like blasphemy.
Which is terrible, because especially when you try to go get promoted, you go to the promotion board questions, and that's the number one thing you really need to know. But I could not remember that to save my life. I would just like lip sync or like I don't know what it was. But yes, but being a female in the Marine Corps, not in the Marine Corps, I'm sorry, in the Army, being in the military, just being a woman, for me, I felt like it was a privilege. There was nothing that a male could do that I knew that I couldn't do. It's sometimes I felt like it was kind of like that, where you did have some males who did like treat you like a woman and who respected you as a woman. But then you had some that, were kind of harder on you because they felt like, well, hey, you here, so you should be treated the same as I should be treated. Which for me, it was fine. But then a lot of times too, I always felt like as females, that fine line when it comes to like, I think I mentioned this to you before about like kind of, inappropriate comments, remarks, things that, women that we sometimes have to deal with in the workplace. And at that age, I was so young. It's like, I kind of felt like I wish I could have been like a little tougher, to been able to kind of like nip some of the stuff in the bud, because when you're young, you're trying to fit in, you think everything, you know, you're just trying to fit in, because it is predominantly more males than it is females. And especially with my job, I was like the only female. So sometimes, you know, I did kind of feel like I was the one being picked on because I was a female, because it's like, oh, well, we're going to do this, but since you're a female, you know, you sleep out here in the tent by yourself in the woods, but we'll sleep in here in the truck. And I used to think that wasn't fair, you know, or, you know, they'll help each other setting up their tent, but then it's like, I'm by myself setting up my tent. And that used to kind of frustrate me, because it's like, hey, I need help too. But then it's like, hey, get over it and just move on. And I just thank God for having people in my life that helped me be where I'm at, you know, and, you know, work together as teams and do what we had to do.
What about the race aspect? Do you think it was even harder being a Black female versus a female, or it was just more being a female where you had issues?
I think that would have to be like another talk separate. Because everyone, I feel like with every female now, when I got out and talked to when I talked to other women that I'm real close to that I served with, it seems like all of us had different stories. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I always felt like, because I didn't feel like I was attractive. So I always felt like the pretty girls would, you know, get more favor, more lenience, and they wouldn't be put on duty as much, or, you know, it seemed like they kind of got favoritism, opposed to like for me, because I felt like I wasn't attractive, or got, you know, like that E5 or E6 not trying to talk to me, you know, oh, we need somebody to do a detail, oh, call Bill. It was like they just kept constantly putting me on every detail and everything, and I used to get mad. And my E5, he always be like, well, no, it's because you the lower rank. No, that ain't have nothing to do with it, because she just got here. You know, she's not, you know, on a detail. So it's like, you know, I feel like for me, it seems like the pretty girls, you know, I felt like they had it a lot easier than for, you know, like than for girls who they, I guess, wasn't attracted to or whatever. But that could have been, but that's my story. And that's what I had to deal with, you know, while I was in.
So let's go back to what your recruiter told you. So, you know, he told you everything was going to be roses. You were going to have the easy life. Was any of what he told you true, or you had a completely different experience from what he told you? So did you get the opportunities that he told you you were going to be able to get, or not really?
I felt like he listened to what I wanted. Like he listened to me what I wanted, but he painted this beautiful picture. Mm-hmm. I think it was it wasn't realistic. Like he was saying, you know, oh, you're gonna have an easy job where you're gonna be working behind a computer. No, I didn't. When I first got my first duty station, they shipped me, and then he was like, oh, you get to pick where you want to go, you know, which they do give you the option, 3 choices, but they never sent me, you know, I never got to go to, you know, it's like they hype you up, but my thing is you have to do your research yourself, especially like for MOS wise. I really wish I did.
No, I'm sorry. What's MOS for us non-serving people?
Your job, pretty much your job title, what you're going to be doing in the military. Okay. Because what I found, like for myself, it seems like a lot of us were cooks, warehouse workers, mechanics, and fuel. I think it was like fuel mechanics as well.
Now, when you said us, do you mean like African Americans, or who are you talking about?
Oh, African American.
Okay, I just wanted to clear it up. Yeah. Okay.
Because yes. And I felt like, you know, and it wasn't until I actually was in that I didn't realize there was other MOSs that, you know, that you probably, if you really want to get into, you can, like working in S1, which is like the HR side, or, you know, or maybe even going to school first and then becoming an officer and then going into the military, like those different type of options. I just knew that I was going to go into the military because I wanted to go to school and provide a better life for my family. But those different type of options, he just pretty much, oh, you want to go to school, the military? Hey, yeah, you can go to school while you're in the military, but he didn't like give me the realistic picture of everything. And I feel like I tell any student, even anyone that may have asked me, like with Kishana, with her classmates, definitely do your research first. Yes, they give you a the test that you're supposed to that you take to see how you score, to see what MOSs that you qualify for. But hey, retake that test again if you really know that you want to serve, and go into a field that you know that when you get out you can either stay in and grow, or like what I end up having to do is change of fields when I got out.
So knowing all of that now, what would you have done differently when you first got in versus what you went through?
First, I would have did my research on MOSs, the type of like the job that I really wanted to do. Personally, I think I would have joined the Air Force because when I being in the Army, I remember my first duty station. They sent me to Germany. I never traveled out of country, so I was like went straight.
Traumatized?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
traumatized. And they placed me in a forward support battalion, and I worked shop office. So anytime a unit had to go out for training, they had to have, they had to have somebody out there to provide them with the supplies that they needed while they're training in the field. And so that was my job with my E7 and my E5 and another in an E4. And what we did, we was responsible for ordering the parts for the vehicles that the mechanics need, and we stayed out there for like 3 months at a time. Maybe for like a month at a time. We'll get to go home for like the weekend for 3 days, and then we'll go back out for another 30 days, and then come home again for another 3 days. And I did that. I felt like I was in the field more than I ever was home when I was in Germany out of the 3 years that I was there.
And you had a newborn, right?
Yes, I had a baby, and even after I had her, my first Mother's Day, because I had her in December, and I flew back because we had to wait till she was a couple months old to get her passport to go back. I was back in the field like that May for Mother's Day. And that was my first Mother's Day, and I felt like, hey, maybe someone else can go. They was like, nope, we need you to go out to the field. And I was gone. And I remember my friend she was pregnant. So that's why she couldn't go to the field. And I remember she drove my daughter to come see me for my first Mother's Day. And I remember my lieutenant, he was complaining because, his wife had just had a baby. And, he wanted to be there for his wife for Mother's Day. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm the one that had a child, you should be more concerned about, me. And I felt like that was very insensitive of him, because sometimes, leadership, they can be insensitive when it comes to stuff like that. But I was really thankful for that friend at that time for bringing my daughter. So it was like my first Mother's Day. Yeah, I was in the field, and I got to see her for, I think it was like maybe 2 hours that they were able to come to visit. But it was a blessing, but that was the number one thing. Like, I felt like my first duty station, I was like, man, I'm more in the field than I am at home. And I didn't know anything about going to a field, going to training, like anything. So it's like you learn as you go when you go in.
Yeah, and I know that. I mean, fortunately, my dad wasn't gone a lot. So I guess with his MOS, is it the same in the Marines they call it, or something different?
Yeah, it's MOS.
Whatever, all I remember is he was an intelligence chief at the end of his.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So we were never really without him. I was without him for a year, but other than that, he was always there. And then, my mom basically stayed at home. She worked off and on. But I know that's one thing about service, like they don't really take into account if you have a family. It's like, and so that's what I wanted to ask you about. When you decide to join whatever branch it is, you're basically signing your life away and almost signing your kids away as well.
Yeah.
So,
I remember hearing, and I remember hearing someone saying if and I think it was for the Marine Corps, like if the military wanted you to have a wife, or the military wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one. Or
Wow.
they have they would issue you one. And I know, it's people, I know people probably heard different things, but I always remember that. And it's true, because your life is not your own when you serve it in the military. Because I always think like for myself, I'm like, why does it seem like every significant moment or event, like if it's an anniversary or a birthday, I've always had to be gone or in the field? It's like they always pick that time where it's like, you know what? Hey, she got something going on. Bing, go to the field. But you know what? I'm not the only one, because I'm not out there by myself. But and that's the blessing. I felt like for me, they were my family. Everyone that I served with from every duty station from Germany. I was blessed to to serve in Hawaii and then in Texas. So it's like you have your family, I wouldn't even say my work family, but because they were my family, and then you have your family that you're responsible for to take care of, which is at home. And I thank God I had my sister to help me with my daughter, to take care of her, because those things I always remember. My mom never wanted me to stress out. And that's why sometimes I see that it is important, like I always share, when someone's in the field, or if you have a service member that's serving, the last thing that they need on their mind is to be stressed and worried about home. They need to be focused on what they're doing, their training, because they say how you train to fight. So you want to make sure that you train to perfection. So the last thing they want to worry about is, oh, well, if, like for myself, is Kishana, being fed, or is her homework getting done, different things like that, or, and it worried about her needs. So it's in the military, I guess, even growing up, if you really think about, it's like, even with your family, your friends, you always have to have that support.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it alone. Like everyone, we have to support each other. And it's like a family within a family and your extended family.
So let's talk about when you sign up, how long are you really giving up your life for? Like, and a lot of people, I learned this like later on, like, although you enlist for 4 years, they still can call you back to service for up to how long?
It's 8 years total. So you could serve 4 years active, then you have 4 years inactive that they can recall, that you could be recalled to come back in.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that. So
No.
basically, you're signing over 8 years of your life.
Yes, it belongs to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, to Uncle Sam. And I am so thankful. When I think about the service, the branches of service, teachers, first responders, police officers, you guys should be getting paid what the basketball players get paid, because you are putting your lives on the line for us. If we go to war, you guys are out there defending us. So I just
not even just war, but also for training.
Yeah, for training.
How many military members lost their lives, even with training, is sad, and they have families, they have spouses, they have loved ones they care about too. So it is, I know, like some people take for granted, but like, oh, well, they hear, well, yes, but any minute they can, if they have,
yeah,
they have to go. It's not an option. It's not
an option. And if you don't think you're going, where are you going? To the brig? Like, yeah. I've heard that the military police is worse than the regular police. So like once you get into military court, you don't want to go that route. So, okay, freedom. So let me ask you this question. Do you think it should be mandatory that everybody who is a U.S. citizen, that they have to serve, or at least be on, what's it called? You're not actually enlisted, but what's that called?
Well, I know for the males, it's the selective service where they have to register.
But there's something else where you can be on standby, but you're not really like full duty. It'll come back to me. I know there's a word for it. Not active duty.
Reservist?
Yes.
Yeah, reservist.
So do you think everybody should have to do that? Do you think it should be mandatory?
I don't think it should be mandatory, but I really encourage, I encourage anyone to join, especially even for those that like have no plan on what they want to do right after high school. I think with the 4 years, that would give them the leadership skills that they need, the work, just different, the leadership discipline. It's with everything. It's like even with the camaraderie, like right now, even for Facebook, I'm still friends with most of everyone that I serve with in Hawaii, my close friends from Germany and also Texas. It's like you can't get it anywhere else. I've been in the civilian, I've been out since 2003, right? I've been out almost
17? Because that's yeah,
that's a long time.
17 year. Wait, yeah.
Look, Misha, I'm getting old.
I moved to Georgia in 2002, so yeah.
So, but even with me working in the civilian workforce that long, I don't think I'm that as close as with my coworkers that I am now as the people that I served with for those 6 years that I was in. So it's like you can't buy it. I'm telling you, it's a skill set that you carry on for life. You appreciate things a lot more. I remember when I used to be out there in the field and I'm like, Lord, if I could just get like a burger, when I get ready to go out to eat, I would just like, I just be like so happy when we used to get to go take a shower. Because in Germany, now that was more hardcore than Hawaii. Because Hawaii, I love Hawaii. God knows I did. And I would love to go back there. I would have stayed there forever if I could. But in Germany, it was like just to be able to take a shower. I used to have to like take a shower out of a bucket or a canteen or like the bathrooms, like the porta johns, because they had like war hogs. Mm-hmm. So I'd be scared to go out at night when I had to go use the restroom because I'm in a tent by myself and I'm scared, one of them gonna shoot.
But you shooting guns.
Because like. But it's like dart. So I just remember like darting and I would hate to have to put on all my gear. And I'm like, oh gosh. So I like dart out there and run into the porta john. But porta johns ain't the cleanest thing. So it's like things that people take for granted now. It's like, I just.
Yeah, like hot water. Because of missions trips, I know how it is not to be completely clean. So, how people over here are tripping out because we didn't have toilet paper in the store, and I'm like, they wouldn't survive overseas. Wouldn't survive. All right. So you stayed in 4 years, right?
6 years.
Sorry, 6 years. So why now? When I know when my dad served, they allowed you to stay in 30 years, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's only like 20. I don't know. I think so. But
I think people still could stay in 30 years.
Okay.
But you can retire at 20.
Okay.
And I kind of wish I did retire because let me tell you how crazy my mind was. I know you're about to ask me about getting out of the military. Mm-hmm. My reason for getting out. Well, I thought the grass would green. They had transferred me. I left Hawaii and I went to Texas. And Texas, Fort Hood, Texas, I was like, hey, I don't know if I could.
You didn't like it. I mean, just be honest.
Like I don't know if I can do this. So I thought the grass would be green on the other side. I like bump this. I can go home, go to school. Because mind you, my whole purpose of joining the military to go to school. But I was always in the field. I was able to take some classes online, different things like that. But to me, it was more of a hassle trying to go to school and stuff. So it was like I took the easy road out instead of sticking it through. I'm like, I just went ahead, did what I had to do. But I thought the grass was greener. So I was like, I'm getting out. I'm going to, I just got divorced. And my daughter, I was like, I'm just going to go home, build a better life for my family. And then going back to North Carolina. And that's what I did. And then the reality hit me that if you don't work, like the military, you can always get paid.
Everything's free. Basically, I mean, commissary, your medical, you don't got to pay jack. I mean,
hey, I was
the dependent side. I'm just talking about the dependent side. I'm not talking about if you actually served. I mean, the benefits are wonderful on the dependent side as well. That's why
I thought
I need to find me a man in the service because those benefits are not like no other.
I was in for a culture shock. I was like, so if I don't work, I don't get paid. So I was like, okay. So trying to find a job was a challenge in itself. And then when I finally found a job, because, you know, I've always worked my whole life since I was 15, 16.
Me too. Yeah.
So when I found a job, I was so happy, Nisha. And I don't even think I even looked at the pay, but it was $7.58 an hour. But all I know was when
I stop you right there. I'm sorry. This is where I get mad because there is no way in hell that people who served in the military should be making that amount of money. I mean, I found out later on when I was an adult that my first paying job, I was making more than what my dad made when he retired from the military.
wow.
I mean, or we were about equal. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. How could he have lived off of this and took care of a family? And it's unfortunate because a lot of people in the service, they're working like other jobs just to make ends meet. There is no way that you should be serving our country and you should have to be on food stamps. That's just, I'm sorry.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I took the first job that was available.
It makes me so mad. It just shouldn't be.
Well, like for myself, I didn't know that they said, oh, you can apply for unemployment before I find a job. But I didn't want to do unemployment. I wanted to try to find a job. And Misha, I applied at Home Depot. I'm like, why won't nobody hire me? I started getting a complex because I'm like, I tried McDonald's, Home Depot, I think even Lowe's. Like none of those people will hire me. So I don't know. I went to the employment, I think it's the Employee Security Office, Commission Office, where they help you find jobs, the unemployment office. I went there and they gave me a list and I was, and this lady found me the job. I think it was MCCS where I'm currently working at now.
Okay, tell us what MCCS is for people who are not service oriented.
Marine Corps Community Services.
Okay.
And it was an office automation clerk position. And when I got it, I was so excited, very nice. It was only June. I was very happy, very nice. But when I saw that first paycheck, I started crying because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to live with my mom forever. Because remember, my whole purpose of getting out, I was like, oh, the grass gonna be greener. I'm gonna be making nice money, you know. So I just like had these high hopes and big dreams. But then, of course, reality and I, you know, would work. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be with my mom forever. And I just like, I had kind of like a mental breakdown because I was like, no, this can't be it.
So coming back into re-entering what we call civilian life, once you've been in the service, what would you, if you could go back and tell yourself anything or do anything differently, what would you have done?
I would have stayed in the 20 years.
Okay, but
what I say that is important because I assume, because even though I got a federal position and and I was able to buy back my military time, which means in the time that I worked for my civilian job, adding the 6 years from a military time, I thought, oh, well, I'll be at 20 years soon. I'll be able to retire at 38. Like in the military, you do your 20 years, you know, I would have been able to retire at 38. But in the civilian world, it doesn't work like that. You have to meet the retirement age, which is 62. So it was kind of like that really kind of hurt my feelings. So I was like, oh my God, I got to work for the rest of my life. I'm like, what kind of world is this that make people work till they're 62?
I know.
But in getting out, the thing I would have done, what I should have done was got my degree, was get a degree before getting out, you know, going ahead, setting up, being prepared, preparing myself to transition into the civilian world, because that preparation is so important before getting out. because especially when you have family dependents that you have to take care of, you know, you want to make sure that they are taken care of. There are a lot of resources out there that is available, but you always want to kind of be prepared before just like what I did. Oh, I'm thinking I'm prepared. Oh, I have this little money and I have this savings. Oh, I'm gonna be good to go. But actually having a real definite plan. What is it that you plan on doing? What do you see yourself in another 10 or 15, 20 years, if that's your plan? Do you want to continue to work? Different things like that. But definitely having that degree first and getting out, at least a bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like the minimum is at least a bachelor's.
And do you think that's why, like, we, you know, see movies? I mean, we just see where our veterans have such a hard time coming back to the civilian world.
Yes. Because in the military, you work for what you earn. So, like, I knew what I had to do to become that specialist, to become that sergeant, and if I want to get promoted to the E6. So it didn't matter your race. It didn't matter if you're male or female. If you maxed out on your PT, your education, and like score high on the board, I knew that I was going to get enough points to where I can make it to be promoted to the next like grade to get promoted. Mm-hmm. Unlike in the civilian world, it's not like that. I had to really, in the military, because I went in straight out of high school. So like you're trained for your job and what to do. In the civilian world, they want you to already have that skill set. They already want you to know everything and just come in.
Which is impossible. When you're 20 something, that is freaking impossible.
Yes. And I've been told what to do. So then when it's like, okay, they want to do the interview questions. So if you were, you know, if there was a pizza, what topping would you want to be? You know, like kind of questions about yourself. And I honestly, like, I had a hard time with that because I really had to dig deep because I've been trained how to think, how to respond, what to do, and actually, I have to do like actually have a thought of my own and what is it that you really want to do. Like I've been in survival mode my whole life, like, you know, just react, respond. Mm-hmm. Like, so I do, you know, have the option choices, or, you know, like, asking these questions more about your personality. One thing I know, you're not entitled, because a lot of times people feel, because I've been in the military, I should have this, or, you know, be here. And that's, to me, I feel like that's being unrealistic on yourself too as well, because you have civilians who's been there just as long, you know, who feel the same way. So it's kind of like you're fighting, trying to, but, you know, with them, it's like they stab. Well, well, let's say they have different game plays and how they succeed. In
it's called corporate America. Yeah. So as far as what the different branches of the service could do for the people coming out and who will be veterans, what do you think they should be doing better as far as when you guys are leaving the service to go back into the civilian world?
Having a great transition readiness program, which I think is very essential. I know, like, for myself, I didn't have that. It was like I took these classes, how to do a resume, which I wasn't even able to use in the civilian world because no one, like when I turned them into Home Depot, different places like that, I didn't get selected for it. I think having that support team helping you with your resume. Also, in regards to doing a VA claim, I didn't even do a VA claim when I got out, and that's so important and very essential when getting out of the military, to make sure you take care of those things first. And that's because you want to make sure that you have all your benefits in place and your entitlements as a veteran. You know, you want to make sure that not just for yourself, but for your family, you know. Definitely those things. Having that transition program, at least if you know when you're planning on getting out, at least 12 months should at least being able to start at least 12 months, a year out, and then transitioning over. And I think having mentors, having that network of mentors, even if you know where you're going to be relocating to, finding a nearby military base to where maybe you can connect with other personnel there. Having that network, because that's so important too as well, having that connection. I know with where I currently work, they have a great program and resources that's available. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I know that everyone has that one person where you can tell them about the resources, but they're not going to listen. You know, that's fine. But the blessing about it is it's available for when they do decide to listen.
You're ready, yeah.
And it's there. Because I believe, like in my stepfather's time and maybe in your father's time, I don't think those resources were there. So we've been blessed.
They didn't know how to get to them. You know, I don't think they were told, you know.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's like everything is a secret or a hush hush. And most of the times, a lot of times we don't find out things until someone else going through it. And then it's like they share and it's like, oh, so I should have done this. Yes. And we learning from each other. And also now with social media, I think this helps out a lot too, because it does open up that conversation. So if it is that person that may be thinking about getting out, because I know where I work at, there's so many times I hear young Marines, you know, talking about getting out. And I'm like, well, hey, do you have a plan? Have you decided to talk to a transition readiness officer, you know, and giving them those resources? Because a lot of times when you're going through, everything is like rush.
Mm-hmm.
And after the fact, then you start feeling the effects of it. The negative effects, and it's like, oh, well, I didn't know about that. Well, yes, it's available. It may be too late, you know, but at least it's there.
Now, let me ask you, is there counseling available to veterans? Because, I mean, I know you didn't have to go to war per se, but we know there's a lot of them, or a lot have. So do you think that, I mean, I'm a big advocate of counseling. I should have been in counseling a long time ago.
Me too.
Mandatory at least once a year, because it's just freedom, refreshing to be able to basically, unfortunately, regurgitate on somebody who doesn't know you, and they can confirm that you either are crazy or you aren't crazy. It's just nice, you know, to have a third party who doesn't know you or anybody that you deal with, just to bounce stuff off of. So I think personal counseling, it should be mandatory, and we know, especially unfortunately with our Black folk, we, you know, a lot of us think like that's taboo to go to counseling. I think it's getting better now, but do you think, did you get the opportunity? Do they offer that to you when you get out, like to get counseling or anything?
No, I don't ever remember the opportunity to get any type of counseling, but I know now with the PTSD that going through the Department of Veteran Affairs, even going through that website, there's, like I said, there's so many resources that are out there that people can take advantage of, and definitely I pray that they do, because it is real. Just even for personal experience, you know, it's real and it's out there. So definitely they have the resources now, and I've heard this too. Yeah, they have the resources, but a lot of times they say they I guess like it's hard not for them to get to the appointments, but they're not that they're not available, but it's like it take them a long time
to respond.
Or, you know, I guess like the quality of service that they've been receiving has been very poor, which
I mean, personally, my dad has told me he hates going to the VA hospital.
And that's sad.
It is sad.
That's sad.
He doesn't, I mean, I think it's okay. It may have gotten a little bit better, but a lot of times he didn't want to do anything because he didn't want to deal with them. So.
And that's the sad part.
Yeah, it is sad, but hopefully, I hope this video will bring some more awareness for our service people. I appreciate you. I love you. You know,
I love you.
I'm thankful for the life that I had because of it. Thankful for my best friend that I met because of it. I am who I am because of it. So I am forever grateful to our people in service. Although I didn't want to do it, I love you guys for doing it and definitely respect you.
And can I make a comment on that? And I know that when you said even though that you didn't do it, you did do it. Because think about it like this, even with our parents, the spouses and the children, that, you know, for their father having to leave, yet still you maintaining at home. So when he does come home, he's having that great life. You know, some of those, you know, like how our mothers, like how they took care of everything, where it's like, hey, don't stress out dad, you know, well, you know, I'll take care of it, you know, just so they can have that peace of mind and able to, you know, to do their job and still come back and, you know, making it, you know, completing them and making them whole. So you serve too as well, you know, with your dad. We're and then like we call ourselves civilian Marines because of the services and things that we provide, you know, on the base too as well. So everyone, like I said, it's not just that one, the service member. I'm telling you, it takes a team that make, you know, that to provide that support that make them who they are. Because trust me, can't no one do it alone. I mean, you can, but it's lonely.
No, it's the you know, the service is not. I mean, our country runs because of what you guys do. So, yeah, it's nothing that we can do alone. So, if you have anybody in your life that serves, just tell them a special thank you. They really need it. They deserve it. I think that's it. Lakia did give me some resources, so I will drop all those resources in the description. And then if you just have any personal questions, you can always reach out to me on Facebook and I can get you in touch with Lakia or, you know, get you whatever, you know, try to get you whatever you need for any kind of resources. But so grateful for everybody who serves, everybody who doesn't get to spend holidays and birthdays and anniversaries with your family because you're on duty on tour. You know, we appreciate you, we love you, and I hope that our country will do, you know, a better job about making sure that you guys are taken care of. Because really,
that you're very appreciated.
Yeah, you guys shouldn't be on food stamps at all. That just makes no sense to me at all. But, you know, we have a lot of things that our country needs to work on. So that's one of them. Thank you so much, best friend.
Thank you
for doing this with me. Her first video, my first combination video. Hopefully when I stop recording, it'll all be okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Be safe with everything going on with COVID-19. And I will say this, please put on your mask. I just had an experience today and I'm wearing my mask. And I'm saying this for my Christian folk. Let me just be real specific right now. Yes, we believe in the blood of Jesus. Yes, we believe we're protected. But the Bible always also talks about in Romans about following the people that are in authority over us, and that we also want to live peaceably where we are. So to keep the peace and to follow the authorities, wear your freaking mask, okay? It doesn't mean that you don't believe Jesus protects you. It doesn't. It just means that, hey, I'm gonna do what the Bible says and follow the people in authority, what they're telling me to do. And then two, I have to think about other people who don't believe what I believe. I am comforting them when I put on the mask. So, and you know, because it's just like unfortunate. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. We don't know what's real and fake right now because there's just so much stuff in the news. But even if you don't believe COVID-19 is real, what's it going to hurt to put on a mask? What's going to hurt? Anyway, that's my little 2 cents. Be safe. See you at the next video. Thanks, Lakia.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.